Hi, everyone. Welcome to our live webinar to introduce the Coalition for Access, Affordability, and Success and my coalition's free planning tools. My name is Nara Lee, and I am the Director of Member Engagement at the Coalition. Our email address is our general information inbox for inquiries, info@coalition.org. And interested schools, in particular counselors and student supporters like advisors, principals, to reach out to us with questions and feedback. Today, I'm just providing a very quick high-level introduction to our organization. But if you have specific questions or are interested in a more dedicated training for your counselors and your student supporters, please do to reach out by emailing us. So over what is the Coalition? Especially for those of you who are new and are unacquainted with our membership organization. And I will do a quick dive into the platform that many of you may have heard about, which is mycoalition.org. Talk a little bit about what we know about the students we serve. We're a very new organization, and our future hopes for what we can do in the higher education space. And I'll also leave some time for questions and answers. So the Coalition for Access, Affordability, and Success, it's a mouthful of a title, but our organization is a membership of 130 schools. We're actually at 133 member colleges and universities today. Our membership represents smart college choices for students and supports a platform called My Coalition for students beginning as early as the 9th grade. My Coalition refers to multiple things, but that's where our platform lives at www.mycoalition.org. And My Coalition is a free suite of tools launched by our member colleges and universities. It provides free college planning and search tools for students. There are 3 key components: the coalition space and the application portal. The locker is where students can store anything that they want. It is a completely personal space for students to add papers and report cards or essays, photos, video files, whatever that can be saved in a format. It actually provides unlimited space for the students to their materials in a completely private space. Nobody can see the student mails. The collaboration space is an extension of that locker where students can invite anyone to collab with them or just see their resume or on things like their college list or look at pictures or share essays or spoken word drafts. I mean, the sky's the limit here, and it really encourages students to reach out to mentors and advisors as appropriate. And finally, the third piece is the application portal. Coalition launched last year. Most people really knew of the platform for the application feature, but it's a college application, and students can use the application to apply to as many or any of the 130 member schools on our platform. It's actually, when we say My Coalition, it refers to everything, including the locker, including what ninth graders see and 10th graders see, and certainly the application is an important piece of that. Actually, there is one more piece of Coalition, and it's the My Coalition Counselor. We have hundreds and hundreds of articles about college applications and high school journey and college preparedness that are available for students in the platform. It's completely free, and it's just great resource, get great knowledge about things like financial aid and what are the key terms and how do I create a college list. It's all there in a big encyclopedia that students can search and look up articles as they want. So it's really just a great resource of free information. So a little bit more into the background of the Coalition and our member schools. I did want to say why our membership made a big effort to launch a new platform. We know that there's a lot of platforms out there. There's also great applications out there, and of course, every college, back in my when we applied to college, you apply to college using individual school apps, and that's just how things went. But I think it comes down to these key points about why mycoalition.org was something that our members want. The first piece is to increase early awareness of many things post-secondary, including college. I think it's really about expanding of that rampway, that pathway to college, and just we know that there's a lot of obstacles for all students in getting to college, and really just feeling like they have the information that they need and decreasing anxiety. So it's not about early preparedness. It's just about increasing early awareness, and allowing students as early as ninth grade to do that is actually pretty remarkable. We were actually mentioned by the Huffington Post for sort of being a trendsetter, if you will, for allowing students as early as ninth grade to become a part of a program that eventually would be could be viewed as a college application, but gives that ability to come empowered in the process and enter it without increasing anxiety. The second is the value of the coalition fee waiver. As you can tell, the name of our membership organization, Access, Affordability, and Success, really are, we're a platform that's for all students, but we certainly want to be mindful of the students who traditionally have not been well served by the way higher admission processes usually work. And one of the big barriers, it's actually considered a micro barrier, but it does add up if you're applying to several schools. So students who qualify are given what is called a single simple fee waiver in the mycoalition.org application, where the students not have to keep requesting fee waivers depending on the number of schools that they apply to. It's really simple and it's single. I'm actually going to show you a little bit later in the presentation. The third piece, excuse me, that I want to point out is the power of a locker. The locker is a completely private space to the students. It is not seen by the colleges. I can't see it as someone who works for Coalition. Counselors can't see it. Nobody can see it. Unless the student decides to share certain pieces. And that's really just a personal space where we're encouraging students to create a time capsule for themselves and to document their growth over the 3 years that they're in high school, and to be able to reflect their high school journey, to just document their pathway however way they feel is helpful. And we think that's going to be a great open space for students to find their passions and trying to share ideas with those who are important. The coalition member colleges and something called College Scorecard, which is a big data set provided by the Department of Education. We think that our membership represents smart college choices. It's the unique membership in that there is criteria to join, and all of our colleges have to have demonstrated commitment to access, affordability, and success, which are the 3 pillars of our membership. So I'm going to a little bit, talked about coalition's benefits, which I'm going to show a few features in a second, but membership really is the cornerstone, the foundation of and the mission. And mission really is in our name, as you see. And minimum qualifying criteria for a college or university to be called a coalition school. Now we're at 133 members, and we are inviting, and we have invited several other schools that are interested. And our minimum qualifying criteria fall under the 3 pillars of our mission. So the access pillar, all of our schools must have a percentage represented or students enrolled at their institution, then or equal to 10% of iPad data. On the front, we're looking for schools that have 15 less, and also and success pillar was really important. It's not just about access and getting these students in, having a small representation of these students, but about what happens to the students after they graduate. And so graduation rate, the 6-year graduation rate must be 60% higher at our institution. So underrepresented or low-income students in particular, we're looking at graduation rates of over 50%. Now, we drill down quite deep when it comes to data, and the majority of our membership far surpasses the minimum qualified criteria. But this is just a snapshot of what it takes to just sort of get in the door of being eligible for the coalition membership. We do have an exception, which is because we are expanding access, and that means we're looking at county and state seeing the landscape. They're applying for college. So it's no qualifying four-year public universities. The public university with the highest metrics, the standards that we've outlined, is automatically invited for membership. More questions about eligibility in the Q&A section. I include a shot of one of our member landing pages, which are actually available for public viewing without even creating an account. Simply to our members page, it's actually on coalitionforcollegeaccess.org. Click on member schools, and you can see a full listing of our membership. You click a school, and you get directed to a landing page, a beautiful page like this. I share this because our members work closely with our vendor to build out pages to create a friendly front door, if you will, to introduce students to college. If you think about how students learn about college and do college search, a lot of it happens kind of organically and in a sort of a messy way. Sometimes they know people who recommend schools, but they think about all the resources or directs that are out there, and they're good ones. They're usually things like categories of things very dry or focused on metrics like versus suburban versus rural, small, medium, large schools, public versus private, SAT, medium, ACT scores. These are all very, very important points. But for teachers, for students for young adults, as they think about what is a good fit, I think part of that has to do with sort of beyond those categories and labels. And find those information on our, that information on our members' admissions pages. But the front page of the Coalition member schools is a simple one page that is student friendly and is pretty casual and really allows the member schools to introduce themselves to students who have never heard of University of Maryland if they live in Arkansas, or maybe know nothing about Beloit College if they're in California. We do believe that exposure to different schools really helps normalize the college search process. It allows students to organically discover traits about colleges that they might have thought about or did think about and said, wow, that's St. Olaf, that's exactly what I was looking for in a college, and I never knew about it. And each college I mentioned has its own flavor and how they present themselves to students. It's just really great exercise for students to be able to go and learn colleges in a really easy, organic way. I also want to point out that visiting schools is probably the best, if not one of the best ways to discover schools. But the reality is that the majority of students don't get to visit a lot of schools, some not all, and even those students who do visit a few schools, they can't visit every single school, and that's certainly not very cost-effective or time-effective. And I've advised students where it was really, really difficult because they had never seen a school and they're just reading and realize this is, certainly their site where they're reading, but, give them a little bit more of a flavor and empowering them, earlier on in the process or even in junior, senior year to take a look at a group of schools that helps them acclimate themselves to college-specific language and campuses, and they always find out more, but it encourages them to do some discovery and exploration on their own. Some of our newer members that we welcomed in the past year, 2017, as you can see, added a lot of public schools and had a great emphasis on public schools. We welcomed 2 new HSIs, Hispanic Serving Institutions, Rutgers University Newark, and St. Mary's University. Membership really represents a diverse array of schools, including tech schools like Georgia Tech and MIT and Caltech. We have the Ivy schools, which were many of the charter members who began the coalition organization, but we also have publics and private universities and liberal arts colleges. So a big we keep getting about my coalition is how it works with systems that are already in place. Platforms like Naviance, Parchment, what if my school uses eDocs? My coalition does not require school counselors to change their platform. I repeat, my coalition is not meant to uproot any systems or anything like that. The purpose of my coalition is to just be another resource for students. So specifically, if a student applies to schools, chooses to apply to colleges using my coalition's application feature this year, but their school counselor prefers to send documents like teacher recommendations, transcripts, and school profile using Naviance or another platform. This is totally fine. The counselor does not have to do anything. The school does not have to enter my coalition. They're welcome to, but they don't have to. The student completes their portion, and if you look at the screen, there's a sample application to American. Every one of our member colleges has an option. It might word it slightly differently by college, but basically see the little box that I checked, then sending in my grade. Separately acknowledge that it's my responsibility that to ensure that it's received by the school. So the student simply checks a box in their application to member school saying that their materials will arrive another route, and they finish their portion and they're done. And as normal, then they go tell their counselor or go through the normal process of alerting their high school which colleges need to receive official documents. Our members have tens of thousands of documents, as you can imagine. They've been doing this a long time. They receive docs in many different ways and through different platforms. So what we do is all the student files supporting official docs are indexed and matched on their receiving end. It's pretty simple. And so, obviously there's not the universal way that every single high school in the country is sending documents to colleges. So our member schools are pretty used to that. And they will receive from the coalition app, and they will be able to read that student. We have a completely free platform that is available for use. So Naviance, all those other platforms, they're paid for services. So if the coalition is a great option, if the school does not have a platform already in use and they need to support students, whether it's 5 or 50 or 500, and the students are applying to coalition member schools, then it's a great option. Counselors can create an account, get connected to their college-bound students, and simply upload official docs into the coalition app for the students as they need. And just like any other higher ed platform, the students waive their rights, see recommendations from their teachers and things like that. So my coalition is simply just another avenue for students to apply to college, and it is a completely all-in-one, completely all-in-one platform if people need it. And we're all about expanding access, not restricting it. This is a view of what my dummy account for a counselor dashboard looks like. I've either invited students or they've connected with me, and I can see which students have shared them with me or requested documents. And it's a pretty user-friendly user interface. Right now, we're working on the functionality for counselors to upload a large list of students all at once. Right now, unfortunately, students do have to organically one by one be added. So either a student adds you as a counselor or you add students. And so, we actually have an email template. If you reach out to me directly, I'm happy to share it with you, where it's written out in terms of instructions for students. You can say, you have the choice of using Coalition. If you want to use it, put it in as a counselor. Pretty simple, but we are on a large contact upload feature for counselors because in our next version, which hopefully will be out by next cycle, we'll have that feature in place. We do have really great resources, so even without ever going into the mycoalition.org platform, if you're our main website, we have video demonstrations of the different parts of our website, but we also have a counselor manual and some research and other supporting materials that have to do with college applications and college access. So I want to make sure I touch on this before we go to the Q&A. So this is the set of students sees after they answer a series of questions, and the My Coalition platform is built that students enter information, and it's quite full. It's they can skip certain questions if they're optional, they don't know the answer to. Some of the questions that we asked for insight have received a test fee waiver. Price lunch. You don't have to. Are you part of a TRIO program? There's several questions that ask. If answer yes or something that indicates that they might be eligible for a fee waiver to any of those questions, and we automatically tell them that they qualify for the Coalition fee waiver. And the students are well aware of this. It's very similar to the Cox fee project that a lot of people know. Just making it quite simple and straightforward. The big difference with our fee waiver is that once they get the fee waiver, they don't have to ask for it again, and they don't have to provide any codes or any supporting documentation. I know that this is kind of a surprise to a lot of people, but it's really a student self-verified fee waiver. They need to say they qualify, and we pick up their word, and they get to the next screen. When it comes time for them to apply to colleges, so whether it's a 10th grader and they're going to apply 2 years later, or they're a senior and they're, like this student here, they're applying now. As they add different colleges, all colleges will automatically register. This is a favor student, and that student will bypass the payment screen when it comes time for them to submit their application. I know sort of a very specific nuance and point, and it's only one small piece of the entire college application process, but especially for those students who qualify, and application fees are a barrier. Average application fees now are anywhere from $60 to $90. We really do think that this is a great feature, and as student supporters, please help us get out about how easy it is for students to apply to more than one school, and not have that financial barrier. We know from our experience, I used to work in college access on the front lines, advising students. I know that many students don't use the waivers when they apply. So we're much more about opening up the access for students to get that, and not worried about the documentation. Usually, sometimes the counselor has to provide like a NatCat code or some other code or verification, or look at their list of all the students who got ACT or SAT words. Those are great institutions, they're doing great work, but for the purposes of our college application and the Coalition, students do not need to provide documentation to prove that. Just simply say, yes, I need one, and they move on. So last fall, 2016, the first year that mycoalition.org Coalition application went live. We had 46 schools participate in applications. 26% of the application failed used a Coalition fee waiver, which is really great news. Less great news is that 97% of the fee waiver applicants last year applied to just one single institution. And if you I know that people come from different school backgrounds and council backgrounds in the audience. As someone, again, who worked in access, it is very difficult for most students to apply to more than one school. And the application behavior of most students in the country is, say, relatively close to home. There are college choices everywhere. But I want to put in a plug for why encourage students to apply to more than one school, or student listening today. Why should you apply to more than one school? There's a few reasons. one is it really just expands options. If you apply to one school, then you only have one choice. Be a great choice. As an advisor, I always try to steer students away from this idea of school. It's okay to dream about schools. I think it's a good thing. It's a thing to have a dream, but in actual behavior, it's okay to have options. It's okay to acknowledge that that you might not get into every single school. Ultimately, I always joke with my students, you're only going to attend one college, hopefully. So it's okay to apply to more. It just increases your chances of getting accepted at a school. And the majority of the students in the country who are applying to colleges are going to need a little bit of financial aid or are looking for merit aid and want some options. So it provides the ability to get into, a couple different schools and compare financial aid packages. And really also another reason to apply to more than one schools is that it's really easy now with consortium apps like Coalition, where you can just simply add more schools and with a little bit more effort, not that much more, you answer a few more questions and now you apply to 3-4 schools. So it's just really good, smart application behavior. It's good for parents to know about this too. Yes, you might live in Virginia and there's some great public options. So apply to those public options, but also know that it's not a bad thing to explore some other choices. And finally, close, I did want to point out a couple of other resources. So we're not the only resource out there, and certainly we should not be the only resource that's consulted. On the College Board site provides a really comprehensive directory of all the colleges in the country and provides things like CED codes and does tell you a lot about the schools in terms of SAT testing and all that stuff. Also, great information about scholarships, as does collegegreenlight.com, which is the next site that I'd like to reference. And there's also other applications. Like I said, the Coalition app is just yet another way for students to access platform and member schools using our platform, but there's also universalcollegeapp.org and our very recently launched an application for member schools. Just so students who are listening and to counselors who advise students, I think it might be a good thing to tell students about all the different platforms so they understand all their options. And some of it, as you know, it's largely dictated by the schools that are on the platform. Application process. And finally, before I dive into questions, I want to put a plug for our main email, which is info@coalitionapp.org. What I provided today was a very quick overview. If you are interested in any more specific training or you know of events where you'd like to invite the coalition or one of our member schools, please feel free to follow up. Our messaging can be found at coalitionforcollegeaccess.org, and of course, mycoalition.org is where the actual platform lives. So I'm going to dive into questions, and thank you so much for bringing me to those of you who need to hop off.